leaves France in another situation with an unstable political system. President Macron was very adamant and clear and fast into mentioning the fact that he would actually name another prime minister within the next couple of days. This would actually be different compared to what had happened a year ago when Prime Minister Barnier, same thing, lost the confidence of the parliament. And Macron had waiting several weeks throughout the Olympic Games up to the end of the summer to eventually nominate François Bayrou as prime minister. And this had been poorly seen by the French population, and also in terms of economic performance, the GDP losing around 0.4% because of this absence of captain at the helm of the government. And so definitely Macron is very keen on not having the same issue repeat itself, and he has already confirmed that he would actually wait, obviously, for receiving the resignation letter from Prime Minister Bayrou, which is probably the case already, and then wait until maybe 48 hours, 72 hours to choose a new prime minister to be able to try, hopefully, to move forward on his political agenda.
France has a ballooning deficit and public debt. What role has Macron's and previous government spending played in this perilous political state the country is now in, and how urgent is fiscal consolidation?
No, you're very right in mentioning that the French deficit and the debt has been ballooning to levels that are, in terms of debts, almost the ones of Italy as of today, and definitely one of the worst performance in terms of budget deficit on a yearly basis inside the European Union. Now, this is the result of a series of attempts from President Macron and his prime ministers to liberalize the work system, the economic situation of France, decreasing a series of taxes, decreasing a series of contributions from companies to the French budget, and as a result, hoping that growth would actually pick up and therefore be able to provide the subsidies that the government needs to run. Now, unfortunately, those kind of reforms have not been followed by economic growth, and therefore that has widened the deficit on a yearly basis and debt overall. So that's one of the key elements to take into account. The second one is obviously the very complex political situation in France. You have a parliament which is very much splintered in 6-7 different parties. It's very complicated to be able to find a common denominator between those parties and potential prime minister figure. François Bayrou was very much loathed by the right wing because he turned his back on Sarkozy a couple of years ago. He was very much not liked also from the leftward side of politics, and therefore his capacity to be able to have parliamentary members and the French making a lot of effort under his name was very limited. And so hopefully President Macron will be able to find a winning formula with a new prime minister, and it will be very hard again for that new prime minister to be able to rally a parliament where there's no clear majority for Macron. One of his options is potentially to go on the center left, to the left wing of politics, trying to get some more support from the Socialist Party and the Green Party. But then again, if he does this, Macron would actually lose some support on the right wing of the exchequer.
And today's vote was triggered by Bayrou's €44 billion austerity plan, eliminating public holidays, freezing welfare. Was it economically necessary, do you think, or politically tone deaf?
No, I mean, it is necessary, and every country, every party around in the parliament agrees that there has to be some strong effort. I mean, even the Socialist Party has mentioned that if they were to get to power, they would actually look for $22 billion of savings. So it's half of what Bayrou was trying to achieve. Bayrou has always had in his political career a focus on reducing debt. He has always stand by this for the last 30 years, and obviously he was advocating for a very strong, U-turn, or at least very strong efforts from a series of different actors in the society to actually be able to reach those $44 billion. Now, the key element here of disagreement between, let's say, left-wing parties and center-wing and right-wing is, what part of the population should actually make more contribution. The left-wing parties have been very adamant about having a return of what was called the tax on fortune, so basically impôt sur la fortune, which was targeting the very wealthy French citizens, which have actually their wealth has strongly increased over the last few months and years. But while the center and right-wing are actually advocating for the fact that these, 1% of the French population is also the one that reinvests the most into the economy, and therefore should not be targeted. So those are the reason why we have a strong disagreement in the parliament about who should be paying the bill. but there is an agreement that there's strong effort that should be done across the board. I mean, even questions such as the pension reform, on which the left wing had been very adamant about limiting it and returning to a retirement age of 62 years old, is something which is not anymore the first words, and even the left wing parties are maybe not La France Insoumise, but definitely the center left parties agree that the fact that there has to be some effort made across the population to be able to decrease this deficit and this debt.